Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 12th, and right now we're looking at the mid-level water vapor loop, and we've been talking about this for seems like a week now. You can see the big trough out across Pacific Ocean and the huge amplification out in front of that, bringing us our heat wave that's coming up here across the Pacific Northwest on in through mid-portions of next week. We'll take a look at those details. We'll take a look at the extended forecast and see when the next trough is going to be impacting us here in the Pacific Northwest. This is looking at the nice affordable home weather station I've been talking about. Click on the link down below to save 10% off. It'll tell you when it starts raining. It'll send you notifications. It stores all the data for you in the cloud. Highly recommend this weather station. You can see this one here in Nevada there. It rained for 59 minutes, 6/100 of an inch, and it picked up lightning strikes nearby here. So great stuff there. Highly recommend that weather station. Taking a look at SeaTac yesterday, 79, right about average there. Pretty typical summertime day here for Seattle, and no precipitation in sight for the next few days. That could change as we go on in the week plus time period, but we'll look at that here in some of the model runs. This is looking at Medford, 76% chance of a 110-degree day as you go through Monday. Look at Roseburg, right about 41% chance there as well. National Weather Service, Medford, nice graphic here. Going to warm up quite nicely here across the Willamette Valley. Major heat risk. Excessive heat warning, red flag warnings. You got excessive heat watches, fire weather watches out there. Lots going on. Air quality alerts across some of the Bedrock fire area out there in the Cascades. So heads up, folks. It is going to get warm. Take a look at those details more here in a minute. Look at Seattle, Tacoma, National Weather Service, excessive heat watch for much of western Washington here. And again, be very careful with the fire starts here across the region. This is looking at the European, 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. Last night's run. Here's Alaska, BC, Washington, Oregon. You can clearly see the amplification on that ridge that we saw in the mid-level water vapor loop building across the area. Nice strong ridge here. It's really going to warm us up here as we go through the early and mid portions coming up. But then we've got some signs for a trough on through the extended forecast later on into next week here. The GFS kind of showing this too, which would give us a nice bit of a cool down here and bring things much closer to normal temperatures here across the region. This is looking at Portland. Check it out on the European, even calling for 3 days of 100 plus here, and then another couple days maybe in the mid and upper 90s before that trough may arrive through the extended and bring things down much closer towards normal. And look at some of these overnight lows, man. It's kind of crazy. Some of these showing up towards the 70-degree mark here. So not a lot of relief overnight during this heat wave as we go through the early and mid portions of the week. Here's Portland, Oregon on the GFS. Again, it calls for 300-degree days there as well. Pretty good model agreement and some of these warm overnight lows, as you see there, 72, 70, and 69. This is the UV index. I don't always show this one here, but very high. So if you're out there in the sun, just kind of remember that. This is looking at the wet bulb globe temperature here. Look at this. We're getting to extreme levels here for Portland, Oregon, and we're going to deal with another 2 or 3 days in the high category here as well. So yeah, it's going to get kind of crazier, and I'll show you what exactly is taken into account when we look at this wet bulb globe temperature. And right here, I did a tweet about it yesterday, or an X, or whatever they call it now nowadays. It takes into account ambient temperature, humidity, wind speed, sun angle, direct sunlight, and cloud cover. So yeah, it's going to get really hot in the Willamette Valley there. This is looking at Portland here, and you can kind of see the cross section of the temperatures. This would be at the surface, 5,000 feet. Top of this is at 10, and you can kind of see that heat really build during the afternoons here as we go through Wednesday, and then potentially returning back towards normal through the extended forecast. This is Seattle Metro, possibly looking at 2 to 3 days, right about 90 degrees here, and looking at maybe 6 days, 80 plus. Before that trough may arrive through the extended. This is looking at Seattle Metro on the GFS. It does show those 3 90-degree days would be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday coming up here, and the overnight lows fairly warm and well above average here as we go towards the mid-60s for Seattle. This is the UV index for Seattle. You know, still very high out there. Wear your sunscreen, put a hat on. You guys know the drill. And this is Seattle Tacoma International Airport. You got 2, maybe 3 days in the moderate category. We're not looking at higher extreme, but still moderate can be harsh on the sensitive populations out there. And you can see the elevated and low generally down here in the green. And I'll show you one of the Eastern Washington sites here in a moment. This is Astoria, Oregon. Check it out on Monday. You might be pushing 90 degrees out there all the way to the coastline. Talk about a nice day to be out on the coast. And then you can see that trough returning and bringing things down much closer towards normal. Hoquiam here as well. Look at that. Maybe up into the 80s for Hoquiam, Washington. Moses Lake. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, 100 plus here as we go through this week coming up here. So quite warm. And you can see the average temperatures this time of year right around the low 90s. And by the time you get towards the later portions of August, you're going to be all the way back down towards 85. a slow decline in our temperatures. This is Moses Lake. You can see the cross section, and you can see the very warm afternoons all the way through Thursday before return to more normal weather possibly. Now, if you look at those temperatures, though, it only goes into the high index here because it's not quite as humid, for example, as places like Portland, Oregon. So that's why it didn't get to the extreme values. But still, that's 4 days up into the high categories there. Be careful if you're working outdoors. This is Tofino. You can see a little bump in the temperatures on the west coast of Vancouver Island out there before we go back down towards normal in the extended. Here's Nanaimo. Check it out. You could be pushing 90 degrees by Monday or Tuesday as well. Kamloops, nice and warm. Interior British Columbia location here. Bellingham, Washington. You could be pressing 80-degree days here as we go on in through Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday coming up. Now, this is looking at 80 degrees or more. And as we scroll through here, you'll clearly see a lot of the region, especially by Monday. I mean, all the way up into British Columbia, a lot of Vancouver Island, Washington, Oregon as well, and kind of a similar picture there as we go through Tuesday and on in through Wednesday afternoon shown there. Now this is 100 degrees or more here, and as we go through Sunday afternoon, look at this tomorrow. Willamette Valley is going to get things kicked off nice and early as we go through the weekend. Some 100-degree temperatures are likely here across much of the Willamette Valley, creeping into eastern Washington. And by Monday, look at this, much of the Willamette Valley, very high odds of 100 degrees or more across the region there. And some of that's going to start creeping into western Washington as we go through Tuesday here also, and Wednesday, and it's still another very warm day here across the region. As we go on into Thursday, still some probabilities there for the Willamette Valley also. So interesting stuff here coming up. Now I want to show you the winds at 850 millibars, which is about 5,000 feet. Going to show you the thermal trough signature. And as we go through to tomorrow or late tonight, this would be about 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. You can clearly see the winds turn offshore aloft here, and that could start to introduce some smoke across British Columbia or the Washington Cascades or Oregon Cascades back into some of the lower elevations. And as we go on into Monday morning, you can see that offshore flow continue right off of BC here back into western Washington into Oregon as well before we finally relax that gradient and start to bring things back onshore here again by the time we go to Tuesday afternoon. But still, we're going to have a nice dome of warm air over the top of us here. It's going to allow us to warm up still quite nicely through the mid portions of the week. And this is looking at that dome of warm air here. And you can clearly see it start to develop here as we go through tomorrow and into Monday. I mean, look at that offshore flow, compressional heating there. Nice ridge of high pressure, just really going to warm us up. As you can clearly see here, we're getting close to pegging the scale here at 850 millibars, 5,000 feet temperature anomaly. Now, this is looking at the European yesterday afternoon versus GFS yesterday afternoon. If you put it into motion, you clearly see that ridge building here. Pretty good model agreement. The European even a little stronger with the ridge versus the GFS here as we go on into Sunday morning, but pretty standard stuff here as far as short-term model agreement. Then we go out into the extended a little more, and you'll notice both models have that ridge back up off over the Pacific Ocean a little bit. Kind of a slow process here, but a trough does start to drop down here as we go through Friday. The European and the GFS showing it. Obviously, the GFS much stronger with the trough, and the upper level low might try to spread some moisture up across the Oregon Cascades, eastern Washington, Oregon for some thunderstorm threat as we go on in through this week as well. So we're going to have to watch that, especially for some dry lightning strikes across southwest Oregon, the east slopes of the Cascades also. So it'll be interesting to see this trough interact with the upper level low as we go through the extended forecast. We'll watch that over the next few days. We have plenty of time to worry about that as we go. This is the European as of last night. Total precipitation in inches. Put it into motion, and you can see we're already out through 144 hours here, and the slight chance of some thunderstorm activity returning here to Oregon, some of the higher terrain as we go through Thursday night here. But Seattle, Portland, Vancouver, BC, much of the Pacific Northwest, not going to see any precipitation here through this upcoming week. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. You guys know the drill. Yeah, 6 to 10 day precipitation. You can see that upper level low could be steering some moisture back up across the region here as we go through August 21st. We'll watch that closely. I've been showing this one the last few days. This is issued August 1st. It goes through October 31st. And the yellow is drought development likely across portions of Idaho, Oregon, Washington. The brown means drought is persisting here. So not good that we're introducing some more areas of drought across the region here. Be careful with those fire starts. And look at this, the Pacific Northwest 7 day significant fire potential here. This would be Friday, would be today here. So actually we're here on Saturday now. But look at this. By the time you get to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, some areas across Oregon are showing high. And that's probably due to the increase there as we start to bring the potential for some lightning back into the region across Oregon. So heads up for that. Could be extended into Washington here as well. But yeah, Nice representation on the satellite imagery. Look at that big ridge building. You can clearly see what's coming here. But hopefully that trough does come at the end of the period and bring us back down towards normal here. We'll see how that trends here over the next few days. And we'll watch that upper level low in that trough and see how they interact as well. But anyway, we'll check this out again tomorrow. We'll update on the temperatures. We'll see just how much we're going to warm up here. And we'll take a look at things as always. So click like and subscribe. Turn your notifications on. And we'll do this again tomorrow. And I'll talk to you guys then.